I wanted to make a quick video to remind you all that in general, good people do not want others to suffer. They don't want to increase the suffering in the world by their own actions. So whenever you see people who believe they're good or proclaim to be good, but they call for the suffering of others or they generally direct hatred towards others, that's probably not a good person. Because why would a good person call for the suffering of others? It just doesn't make sense. These are people who more so just want to direct their own inner hatred on the world around them. They want others to suffer in the way that they do because they don't know how to cope with it themselves. It's that whole concept of like misery loves company, right? When unhappy people see happy people, they want to bring the happy person down to their level so that now when they compare themselves to the happy person, they don't feel quite as bad because they've knocked them down from their happiness, right? Well, people who carry hatred in their heart are kind of the same way. If they see other people not having that hatred, trying to spread love and whatnot, they're going to get pissed and want that person to no longer spread love like that. So just remind yourself of this and use it as a litmus test for whether or not someone's a good person. If they often call for the suffering of others or spew hatred, it's not a good person. Almost never is. There is some nuance here, like a very minor amount of nuance, of course, because there are some times where good people have to conquer evil people to protect others, right? To protect the innocents. Like in the cases of Putin and Netanyahu, and of course, going back further yet, Hitler and Stalin. There is an argument to be made that sometimes these people, if they get stopped early, it saves a bunch of lives. But the vast majority of the time, good people don't call for the suffering of others. They don't try to hurt other people, create more suffering in the world, or any of that crap, because generally it just doesn't make sense to do so. There are some cases where it does, but like 99% of the time, it doesn't. So there you go. It's as simple as that. And I just wanted to make this video to remind you of this because we're living in times where there's a ton of political polarization, and there is mostly just one side calling for like hurting the opposite side. But you see it on both sides to some extent. Again, it's primarily coming from one side. We can all see that if we have logical brains and actually take a step back from things and don't be emotional. You can see it's mostly one side calling for violence, but it does happen on both sides to some extent. So don't fall victim to this nonsense. Calling for violence is incredibly stupid unless you're directing it at the people who actually are causing suffering and like mass suffering as well. In that case, it's probably justified. But for everyone else, what the hell are we doing? We're just human beings trying to live our own lives. Most people aren't hurting a bunch of other people. They're not creating a ton of suffering. So it really makes no sense to call for them to suffer, to call for violence against them. So yeah, just remember that and try to be a good person yourself.